Welcome to the Ruffells ad break, the first of the Ruffells Roughcasts. I'm Tim McInnes, Managing Director. In this podcast, we dig into how the creatives we work with get the most out of every brief to deliver best results for you. At Ruffells, we're all about the people, and when we're working with best in breed, it's easy to get great results. But when the majority of our effective brain time is spent at work, we reckon you might as well enjoy the ride too. Joining us this episode is Tonia Shuttleworth, food stylist, art director, photographer, and most recently publisher. Tonia worked in London for the better part of 2 decades before returning to Christchurch to raise a beautiful daughter with her mad English husband. How's it going, Si? In this episode, we talk about contract publishing in London and how that led to founding her own publishing company, Koa Press, on her return to Christchurch, and food styling for Bailey's just before she came home. But less from me, more from Tonia. Ruffells ad break.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah.
How's that?
That's wonderful.
And now you and I are going to try it together.
Oh,
it's
no.
foreign. Here we go. Ruffells ad break. How good was that? Tonia,
Oh,
You've won.
no.
You've
Please
won.
get me out of here.
Ruffells ad break.
so you were art directing here for Kathmandu.
That was my first main job. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were doing that for a period of time. Then you went to London, and again doing some art direction and some styling and all that kind of stuff. What sort of things were you working on?
Mainly, so magazines. It was a contract publisher, so I was working for Virgin Atlantic and Mother Care magazine, lots of different magazines. And then I'd be designing layouts, I'd be commissioning illustrators, photographers, working with the clients, because contract is different to sort of newsstand consumer magazines. And then sort of started doing more food and lifestyle magazines and really enjoyed being out on shoots rather than just sitting at the desk all the time designing. And then I sort of started prop styling because I just liked that side of it as well.
Yep.
And then just started sort of combining all of those, and I was lucky enough to be able to do that through the company that I worked for.
And was it easy? Did you find that sort of shifting maybe horizontally a wee bit more, having more of an impact across the job was an easy transition?
Definitely, yeah. Well, here with Kathmandu, it was across the board. I was laminating signs, I was designing banners for the shop fronts, I was going on photo shoots for the catalogues, I was doing everything. Whereas there, obviously, magazines, there's a formula, of course. Yep. We've got templates to work to and deadlines like any job. So I guess maybe my sort of skills narrowed a bit in terms of, well, that's just, magazines is what you do now, which is why I enjoyed starting to branch out and doing the styling and the photography, art directing.
It's also London, or a big city though, right? You start specialising and you start finding that you're only doing that thing.
Yeah.
And you have to look for the opportunities.
Definitely.
They abound, but you actually have to look for it or else you become the person who does that thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know what I would have done if all the opportunities I got when I first got there were through people from back here in New Zealand.
Yep.
That would say, I know someone who works at this company or that company.
Yep.
Here's their email address, and then there was no form of sort of professional avenue in terms of getting these interviews. It was more just who I knew.
Yeah.
It is who you know.
Yeah, it is. I've got a friend actually who I used to work with, who's still he's from the UK. He's in London. For the last 8 years, he has cut all of the ads for Rolex.
Wow.
Well, but also boring.
Yeah, boring, yeah, right. Okay.
But he does it very well, and it's I don't know. I think to myself, if you've got all of that opportunity around you, why wouldn't you be making the most of it?
Yeah, true. But sometimes it's nice just to have that steady income, and especially in somewhere like London, and if it's creative and still keeping you interested, then and sometimes it takes redundancy or the loss of a job to actually shake you up anyway.
Yep.
Sometimes you just
Yep.
get comfortable, don't you?
Yep, that's right.
And that happened a couple of times. I took redundancy in London, and that was good because it just pushed me out.
Pushes you.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to return at the end of the GFC. So it was kind of like, well, the doors are closing.
The doors are closing, yeah. Time
You know,
to...
so it's been a long time back in Christchurch. But
Yeah.
hey, what have you been working on? You've been doing some really cool stuff. Obviously, we know you through food styling and, you know, building some amazing looking food products for us.
Thank you.
I mean, they've been all right, but
From certain angles.
yeah, that's right. Don't shoot the back. Never shoot the back.
Never shoot the back.
But you've also been doing some really fun stuff, and you've been getting back into publishing. You've started your own sort of publishing. Is that what's been the most fulfilling thing for you, would you say, over the last year or so?
Yes.
Talk me through it,
well,
Tonia.
probably because the main reason why it's been so fulfilling is that it's always something I've wanted to do. And I knew in London it would have never been an option. I always worked on the other side of publishing, where I was commissioned by the publisher to art direct and prop style a book. And that was a nice, easy, comfortable job because you get paid for it and you head along to the shoot, you art direct them, you deal with the props. And I was always intrigued what it would be like on the other side, be the publisher. And then coming back to Christchurch, there weren't a huge amount of opportunities in terms of styling. It wasn't, I couldn't find a full-time job, self-employed,
Yeah, for sure.
getting work in the industry as a stylist. So again, it kind of forced me to start up my own publishing company. Yeah, I love it, but I also I work from home, so sometimes it can be a little bit boring. I'm my own manager, HR, accountant, designer, everything.
Receptionist.
Yep.
Supplies.
Coffee maker.
Yep.
So when I get asked out on a big ruffle job or something similar, then I'm a bit like a kid in a sweet shop. You've seen me.
Yes. Yeah, we have.
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So I love being able to mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Christchurch I feel like I can do that.
Yeah,
and I probably don't go out and search enough of the alternative from my book, for my publishing, because I don't have time.
Yep.
But I would love to be able to do a bit more.
Yep.
Of being sort of on these big campaigns.
Well, that'll come though, right? I mean, you've got priorities, and that's launching your publishing house, which is called
Koa Press.
Yes, very good. We'll put a link.
Thank you.
Link in the description.
That'd be great. And
you're not just distributing in New Zealand now. We're
in Australia now, and we're in the UK, and then I'm trying and almost succeeding to get into the US.
Excellent.
With the next book that's coming out. But the other one's not so much, but the next one, we've got a great opportunity for pushing the Christmas campaign.
Excellent.
So we're just pushing for that at the moment, yeah.
Yep. It's been a busy time.
It has, yeah, and that's one thing I never expected to be so much work is the admin and logistics. I had this romantic idea that, I'll set up my own publishing house and design books, but that's about 10% of it. It's so much,
Where did it come from? I mean, because you're talking about an admin and definitely an operations kind of side to it. It's not just creative, right? So Did you have a light bulb moment? Did you have that moment where you kind of went, I need to do this for myself, or was it a financial thing, or was it because your husband was pushing you into it?
No.
Likely story.
Not at all. I mean, he's a publisher himself, so he's... he's done it before.
Yep.
So he was great. He was a great sounding board. I think it was actually probably when I met the author of my first book, Julia. She was really helpful when I first got back, and I was still finding my way back in Christchurch, and she was really helpful, very independent to the book, but just sort of contact these people. Here's some email addresses. Mentioned my name. And then it was a few months later, and I said, I got back to her and said, I've always thought of, I want to start up my own publishing house. And she goes, well, that's great, because I've got 3 ideas for books. And her enthusiasm and drive was probably one of the fundamental reasons why I started
How many
publishing.
How many of those books have you published?
So I've published 2 with her, and she's got 2 more that are ready to be designed. So she's a machine.
Keeps growing.
Yeah.
So it's a partnership, right?
Well,
Of sorts.
Yeah, unofficial, but
Yeah.
she's sort of one of my biggest supporters, and keeps me in check when I have any wobbles.
I was hoping you were going to say a resounding yes, of course, because that was going to be my segue into partnerships with other businesses, but that's scuppered. So,
No. Partnerships with other, but no.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you need. Because I think about relationships, partnerships.
Yeah.
Ways of working with consultants or with different companies or whatever. We need different people at different times in order for our business goals, but also for the business goals of our clients. I suppose it's a bit different. Maybe it's no different in the publishing world. But so how do you do that? Because I think. How important are those relationships in order for you to be able to do what you need to do with your books, but also to be able to turn up on set for a styling job, or going to Auckland to style a book, or styling a food shoot for us here, or whatever. How do you build those relationships? What are the parameters? How do you like to work?
Well, obviously communication is a main factor, and keeping in touch. And I think with my publishing, I can easily lose touch with a lot of very important factors, which is why I struggle being my own boss. And that's why I like kind of being more sort of when I'm working with Ruffells, I can sort of, be part of a big team.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what else to say about that.
Just communication.
Yeah.
Just communication. Just turning up,
and
making sure you do what you do.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and doing it well, doing it the best I can.
Yeah.
And
all right, then let's jump in somewhere slightly different.
Yeah.
What about interpreting a brief or getting a brief? Because that's sometimes something that we struggle with. It depends on what the output is for us. But sometimes we will have a really clear idea of what we think the request is. Do you ever find that the thing that you are trying to produce or pull together is different? The expectation is different, or do you find it's usually on task? And how do you mitigate that sort of stuff?
I tend to feel like I can decipher a brief pretty well, and that's probably just because they're always pretty straightforward, like because I work with the people that I work with in the industry that I do, or even when it comes to books and someone presenting an idea, it's to the point and very clear.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then I lose interest pretty quickly,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to books. But with that's a tricky one to answer, because I feel like with a Ruffells brief, it's always just very clear to me, and it's okay, turn up then. This is what I need to do. This is my job.
Yep.
And just get stuck in. Otherwise, I get in trouble.
Do you get in trouble? Are you because it's interesting. Some people don't share that, because you're very flexible. That's one thing that I've noticed. It's really flexible. It could just be a very small team, or it could be a large team. Sometimes you have a chef cooking stuff and you're just doing the styling. Sometimes you're doing both. Sometimes we will go and get the ingredients and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes that's on you. So you don't care which way you work?
No, and I find that refreshing, because that's not how things work in London. You literally are pigeonholed. This is what you do. Do not step out of your box. And that's what I like about being back here, is it's more fluid.
Yep.
And you just sort of sometimes just muck in and just get it done.
Does that extend to sourcing of props and stuff as well?
Yes. I mean, it's a whole different kettle of fish, because back over in London there's huge prop houses, so you just go in and hire stuff, and not a sort of penny comes out of your bank account, whereas here there's a lot of buying, sourcing, and then if you have to return them.
Yep. So do you think clients would understand that? Do you think maybe they don't need to?
Probably not. I mean, that's another thing that we found in that I found in London that I got very used to was, clients, especially with contract publishing. You have big, Virgin Atlantic, for example, they're a big client. And they can sort of reject something on a whim, but they don't really know what's gone on behind the scenes, and they might try and remotely art direct, and that's always a nightmare.
It really is.
Because it's just not time efficient, and it's not productive.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of inefficiencies, aren't there? But I wonder at what point does it become useful? We've gone through a process where we've done a whole series of forms, briefing documents, and forms which help to educate. And one recent example we had with a new client, they were doing a load of stuff where they couldn't travel, so it wasn't that when the country was in different periods of lockdown, and so they had to film certain sections on their phones, and it was sort of vox pop street kind of stuff. And then we were going to collate it and add it in with some of the stuff that we had done for this campaign around an awareness campaign. And that's fine, but we had to produce a brief so that everybody could understand and get the same consistent outputs, and things like don't film someone next to a noisy road, don't film someone with a window directly behind them.
Hoping that
we even produced a video of what to do with a green tick and a red cross.
Really? That's time consuming.
It is.
But worth it?
Well,
was it worth it?
10% watched and read the document.
Oh, okay.
So we had to push back and say, hey, guys, actually look at the thing that we sent you. So, even then it's difficult, isn't it?
Yes.
So
for sure.
Figuring out how other parties work is actually sometimes half the thing.
Yeah.
Hey, did you have a moment? Did you have a thing when you were, I don't know, you're 15 and you're doing art at school and you went, I have to be involved in this industry? Or how did you know that you were a weirdo?
That I was a weirdo? Well, I was never academic. That's absolute certain. So I went to a school that was really good at supporting and nurturing my creative side. And so it was always a natural thing for me. The fact that I sort of could drop all the academic subjects and do art and painting and drawing, and that was great. So that's where it started, just being in a good school.
Yep.
And then moving on to Polytech, but publishing was out of the blue. Yeah. When I got to London, it was, this is a whole new world for me. Yeah. Because working in a marketing department here in Christchurch was nothing like what I got to do in London.
What you walked into. Yeah. Awesome. And were you quite confident enough to follow your nose and give it a go? You're anonymous there. If it doesn't work out,
I was. I got to the point where I was sort of a bit desperate,
Yep, I know that.
Dossing on the friend's floor.
I was down to about 60 quid at one stage.
Were you? Ouch. Yeah. I think maybe I even wrote an email saying if I can't get a job, I'm going to have to go home.
Yep, I know that one.
And I think they listened to me then, and they said, in that case, we've got come in for a week's work, freelance. That was when I was okay. Now I can stay here, but for a while it was really tough.
I find there are quite a lot of people who have come back from overseas who have this sort of very rich experience base, but have had to negotiate those kind of situations, who have come back and chosen to live here again.
Right, after sort of making it in London?
Well, being abroad for long enough to know how everything works and actually, figuring out, your NHS number and your all the rest of it, They've worked it out and decided to come back. So being here has been a choice. Yeah. And a lot of those people are also using Christchurch as a base, but working outside of Christchurch.
Yeah. So that's a great. That's what we love.
Yeah. The variation
and choosing to come back, and just getting out of the big city, but still having so many opportunities here, and it's a fresh city and there's lots going on.
Yeah,
we love it.
Can you think of a piece of advertising, nostalgic or recent or whatever, that sticks in your mind? What's an ad?
Well, I mean, I guess the old ads are the ones that spring to mind, like, Flake, Cadbury Flake.
Yeah. What do you remember about the ad?
Oh, just...
We'll see if we can find it and put a link in the description.
Well, that's probably... Well, yeah.
Is it the song?
Yeah, the song.
What's the song?
No, I'm not singing this song. You can sing it.
Only the crumbliest, flakiest chocolate. Was that the one?
That's it, yeah.
With the lady in a dinghy?
And that kind of Vaseline. over the, that sort of, very, actually probably quite, not sort of
say it.
PC.
Yeah, say it.
Yeah. Suggestive.
I think it was absolutely.
Very suggestive.
I can't tell you the age I was, but I can tell you I remember it.
Yeah. It's certainly not something you get away with now. So there's that one, and also one that I do remember clearly, and I think it was the song again, was the British Airways
which one?
Commercial, the one where they swim out of the water and then they create that face on the beach.
Was that here? That was here, wasn't it? What was the song?
It's classical. It's like a soprano singing it, and
that's right.
It's just.
We'll find that.
I'm sure it must have been here because I remember it from a long time ago.
I do too.
And I do remember that
and so
sticking in my mind.
What were those things? So you think it was the song?
The song, yeah.
For both of them.
Yeah, probably. No, I mean the song for British Airways, just because it was kind of classical, but then with a little mix of rock, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So that was kind of like quite a cool combination. The Flake is, just wanted to eat chocolate, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
it was nothing to do with the chocolate.
No, nothing to do with chocolate.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I hope she got paid well.
Same. Probably not, though.
Probably not. And so do you think, we couldn't get away with probably either. The British Airways one was massive. I mean, so that was a big budget.
Yeah, wasn't it the most expensive?
It was. Hundreds of extras coming together on the beach.
On the beach, thousands, and just this very British voiceover.
Yeah, that's right. We'll find it and we'll link it so that everybody can have a look. Do you think we're brave anymore in advertising? Do you think we could be braver?
I think we're kind of on the right track for this time in, where are we, 2022? I mean, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of ads, but in terms of the ones that I do see, I think they're effective. There's a lot seem a lot quicker and a lot faster now. So still big budgets, still 5-day shoots, but you might end up with a 30-second or 15-second ad.
Yep.
That's something that I found out in London.
Yep.
Just the manpower, or the people power behind an ad that someone looks at for 15 seconds.
Sixes.
Kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I guess now they're a lot shorter, sharper, more kind of sort of effective.
Yep. Targeted.
Targeted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Hey, we've spoken about lots of things. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of going to go off piste.
Okay.
But I don't really have any piste to go to.
Okay.
Well,
I'm a pretty boring person.
It's not true.
It's
not true. One time you said about us, you said, what did I say? I'm going to butcher this, aren't I? That Ruffells vibe is rubbing off or something. All the sing-alongs and...
All these sing-alongs, yes. Oh, I can't remember what I said now. The Ruffells... it might have been something like the Ruffells is rubbing off on me, or
sing-alongs and nonsense or something. I can't remember. Yeah. So how if you had to think about an experience, a Ruffells memory, what would that be? What would
Oh, it would have to be. I just loved the Angel Bay Little Victories campaign. That to me was. I just felt like I was back in London, and big crew. Lots of buzz, lots of hype, models, and it just seemed to run really smoothly with you at the helm, of course. But like big team, and I loved it. I just felt like I was just sort of, I'm totally back in my element.
Yeah, excellent.
It lots of fun, but very hard work. But yeah, lots of fun.
It wasn't me at the helm. It was me having fun on the day.
Yeah, okay, but
really.
But that's what you make it like that. But really, you are in charge.
Ish.
Yeah, and I don't want to get on the wrong side of you, of course, but but you do. You make it. It was and just those different location houses and different storylines and different characters. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more of that.
They were really effective. They did everything that we needed them to do, which was awesome.
Yeah. Just that's
brand building.
Well, to me, it looked like it ran like clockwork. But for such a big team.
Yeah, but it should.
And it should. Yeah, it should. But,
I suppose I think that's the thing that we either get one of two things. We either get, do you do this full time? We still get that, which is amazing. On some of the smaller jobs.
Right.
If there's say 3 or 4 of us there, and we turn up with a few pieces of kit.
Right.
Do you do this?
Is this just your sort of
this is just a side hustle.
Oh, dear.
And the other thing that we get all the time is that was really smooth. People are kind of surprised by it, but it's just process, right?
Yeah, and planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you say, making sure the brief is clear. It all starts right back at the beginning, doesn't it?
It does.
And then through to the execution.
Yeah.
And then the editing.
Yeah.
Very important.
That's right. What we say actually is that the farming is the pre-production.
Yeah.
The recipe.
Farms now. Yeah.
The recipe is the production phase.
Yeah.
And then the cooking is post-production.
Yeah.
So the part that probably our clients see the most of is the production phase, because then they'll come along to those shoots and stuff. But actually a huge amount of that heavy lifting has been done up front.
Yeah.
And then a huge amount goes into the tail end.
Yeah.
And it's sort of knowing, sometimes it's education around, talking to those clients around how much input they get at that stage as well.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with when you say the cooking is post-production, most clients would assume, or actually a consumer would consider that as the viewing, the cooking. But actually, that goes to show like how important that part of it is.
That's right.
It's massive.
And that's where the music comes in as well. So if we think about those ads, that's where that sound bed goes over the top of those pictures. Because if you think about, sharing a storyboard or a wireframe for a website or any of that kind of stuff, unless you have experience in knowing what you're looking at, it's very hard to know what that's going to turn into.
Totally.
And then how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, do you have any favourite jobs from London? Because a lot of, I don't know if I should say this or not. I don't know if that's what we're allowed to say. A lot of your stuff's quite pretty. Do you know what I mean?
My books, you mean?
Well, your books, but I remember you showed me some stuff like that you did for Bailey's.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Bailey's Strawberry.
It was Bailey's Strawberries and Cream.
Yep.
It was a new range. That was a campaign with Mother. Mm-hmm. I'd say that. And they had that was real eye opener for me. It was clients from LA, clients from Ireland, a whole location house, 2 days of pre-flight, setting everything up, and 3 food stylists working on the drinks, and I think what were they, 6 seconds?
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe 10s,
that was a lot of the management or guest or manager running around sort of calling us art. We didn't have names, sort of art, clean this glass, that kind of, so it was but it was me and another stylist, and there was a lot of giggling in the corner because it was the only way to get through it. But that was probably a stand-up moment just in terms of the sheer scale of the production of a 6-second ad.
Yep.
That probably stands out. I mean, I've got lots. I've worked on some lovely books, and with some great sort of celebrities. I guess there's a few there, but I guess none of them really stand out. I just love them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you still in it?
Because I just love being creative. I love and the good outweighs the bad. And I'll go back to what I said before. I'd love to do more of sort of styling and working on big campaigns, but it's time that I don't really have, and with my publishing, I sort of feel like I have a good amount of control over it, and I love the creative side of it. I can't stand the admin side of it, but that's part of owning your own business, and I just have to deal with that.
Until it gets big enough to...
Big enough where I can, as someone said to me this morning, you're building your empire. I'm like, okay, is that what this feels like? I'd like to think that maybe one day I'll make money from it, but at the moment I'm just building and working at, just keep working at it.
Awesome. What do you think your 10 years of experience...
10 years.
A few more.
So kind.
What do you think all of that work experience and living abroad and dealing with big agencies abroad and then dealing with big shoots here, but also having to run your own business and hustle the distribution, what do you think all of that information and all of that learning, what do you think you bring to the mix, and what's the value that you
knowledge, I guess, and experience. So I can just come in, and even though I might be absolutely bricking it, I make sure that I don't let that come through. I just go, okay, well, I just need to get in amongst this and do my job, follow the brief, do it as well as I can, and make sure I look like I know what I'm doing. Even if I don't. Sometimes it's just a little bit about blagging it, isn't it? I guess, confidence and experience, which I do have quite a lot of now.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? You can always show someone.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's why when I came to meet you, it was, you could see the potential.
Well, it wasn't even potential; it was realised.
It was real.
There's some tangible proof. Yeah. And then I think also those situations, you get the best out of people if you let them do their best work.
Yeah, definitely. And I've found that there's not a huge amount of that here in Christchurch. I feel like a lot of people hold things close to their chests and aren't sort of prepared to try new. Like professionals, they just like, this is our team and this is who we work with. But that is changing. I'm getting more and more inquiries, I guess. But it's changed in the last 3 years since we've been back.
Yep.
I feel, or maybe I've just had to earn more trust. Even though I've had 18 years experience, but London experience, sometimes to some people that doesn't matter. It's not. Doesn't.
Do you think sometimes people are put off by that? They think that's too confronting. Maybe they'll be shown as not having the... Potentially,
yeah. And I feel that when we were in Melbourne, that's what happened. I think the vibe that we got was we were a little bit of a threat to some people in the industry. So we just wouldn't get booked for jobs that they feel might sort of encroach on their on their job
turf,
on their turf, and I get that. We're all a bit like that, aren't we? You sort of want to...
I suppose so, and I think, sorry, I've just touched your foot under the table.
How dare you?
I thought I'd acknowledge that, because otherwise it might be quite weird. I touched Tonia's foot under the table. I think that is potentially one of the big things, and we've been talking about that a little bit on the podcast series, about this sort of idea of ownership over one thing or another. We certainly don't go out to poach clients, but if they come to us, I think that's sort of fair game. But
that I mean, that is, with a small city, I can see how that is much harder. Like in London, it's every person for himself, right?
Yep.
It's
Pigeon
pretty,
eat pigeon.
yeah, it's pretty cutthroat.
Yeah.
Whereas here you have to be a lot more careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's excellent, Tonia. I think you have done everything we kind of
answered.
Well, you've said words.
I have said words.
You know, that's half.
I hope there's some that you can use.
We'll use them.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we will leverage whatever we can from your
Excellent.
From your brain on this day.
That's good.
Where can people get in touch with you if people want to find out to book you, talk to you, find out about your work?
Well, I guess Instagram. I'm on Instagram. Just my full name, Tonia Shuttleworth, or my publishing name is Koa Press.
Yep.
KOA.
And we will link those in the description as well.
Yeah,
so,
great. Thank you.
No trouble at all. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And can I just say now?
Yeah.
There's this really funny thing on the. Oh, you just hopefully stopped.
Yeah,
You're just talking about
stopped.
that. You're just about that cooking thing.
Yeah.
You know that cooking thing. I saw this here. Wish I had the confidence of a bay leaf, just strolling into every recipe, doing absolutely fuck all. It's so good, isn't it? It's so
good.
true. It's like, hey, I'm a bay leaf.
Yeah.
Here I am. It's like, what do they do?
What do they do?
They don't do anything.
They kind of got to
add a bay leaf or
add
two.
a bay leaf.
It's always a bay leaf.
Always.
And who has bay leaves?
We do.
Oh, okay, we don't. But it's just like, what does, like, it's just, I just find that really funny. It's like when you're talking about the cooking, it's like,
Just add a bay leaf.
Wouldn't it be fun being a bay leaf?
It probably would be.
Yeah.
They're quite a nice tree. You can topiary them.
Yes, you can.
You know, they look
That's
quite nice
fine.
in a topiary.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But
no other purpose.
But in cooking, it's just, I don't really get the whole fascination with the bay leaf. But I don't know, it's clearly a reason. Thank you.